All right, all right, all right. It is that time of the day or time of the morning. I hope everybody's doing well. Today, remember, it's going to be kind of a shorter day because I'm getting the COVID vaccine today. Um, so just to remind y'all. Anyway, let's see here. All right. It's going to be the food cycle today. We're going to be talking about the food cycle. And we talked a little bit about that yesterday, but more about just the getting in the food and purchasing and just the whole cycle in itself. But let's see here. Good morning. So kind of reviewing of what we talked about yesterday, we talked about the process and how you need to have you know set processes, set things in place, systems in place, so where you can purchase the right product, you can store the right product, you can store it in the right, way, all of that. You can issue it, controlling everything basically. Food in the preparation and serving, consumption, cleaning up, and then the cycle over again. So basically we were talking about systems and control, controlling all the systems, making sure the systems are working. If the systems aren't working, rework it and then check on it. But there are multiple systems in place to make sure that everything, that the bathrooms are getting cleaned properly, that the food is being stored properly. And then again, trust your employees, but verify. Always trust, but verify. So that's what we kind of talked about yesterday. We talked about in the food and beverage cycle, and this is, I think, today is kind of a really big repeat day because we're kind of repeating what we talked about yesterday, but kind of going in a little more in depth. So purchasing, you need to develop a purchasing specs. You need to make sure that everything is the way. Hold on. Okay, so this is kind of a quick review. Like purchasing, you need to have um, good specs. You need to make sure you know what you're purchasing, who the place you're buying it from. You need to make sure that you know if you want it fresh, frozen, you name it. And whatever our standards are. So purchasing is that. So when you receive it, you need to make sure that you know it's received in a clean, that the truck or wherever the you know driver is driving to deliver your stuff. Excuse me. You need to make sure that that's clean, that they're coming on time. All the systems are being on track in a way of making sure that the food is coming in the proper temperature. It's not ripped up. It's not and it's the proper stuff that you ordered. It's not random stuff or the wrong order or what have you. So and making sure that if you have an inventory system of things coming in, you're checking things in to your inventory, making sure that you know count all of that when you put it in. And then obviously storing, you need to make sure that you have a good storage space. Uh, make sure it's proper temperature, make sure that you're storing it correctly in the fridge or in the freezer, on the different shelves, making sure that when you're opening up all of these things and putting it out, making sure that there's no damage or any of that sort of stuff. Um, Putting it in secure areas, making sure that it's not going to be stolen or any of that sort of stuff. Um, Issuing, you need to make sure you issue it to the right individuals. Whatever it is, if it's your um, your section of the kitchen, if it's the grill station, or if they're sending it to the catering station or catering portion or whatever else, you're issuing it to the people that need it, and you're issuing the amount that they need. You're not issuing too much. But again, this one is sometimes you don't see it as often in what I would consider a uh, like a mom and pop organization. You can usually go get stuff out of the cooler, or get stuff out of the dry goods or whatever else. But this is usually bigger establishments like hotels or casinos or so it's something that has multiple units in it, because it are multiple food service units in the same facility. Like I don't know, even a country club or something like that. You might, because you might have uh, food for the grill, food for, the restaurant, food for the area by the swimming pool, or whatever else. So, it really kind of depends. But, it makes you keep track of who has what and who's paying for what in a way, because the catering business pays for its own food, the restaurant pays for its own food, so where you can see who is making money and who is not. So that's one of the reasons why you issue food to the different units or different areas and see who is making the money and who is not, in a way. Um, the prep area, making sure that all your employees know, you know, they have a waste log, a log where if you're wasting any food or throwing any food away, you write it down. And if I see that like my employees are wasting too much food, I start investigating it, trying to figure out why, what it is. Uh, maybe they're cutting too much off, or maybe that the bell pepper is old and kind of mushy, and so they're wasting a lot more bell pepper, than normal. So maybe it's the purchasing problem. Maybe it's not just my employee problem. So it could be a combination of both. So making sure that I manage the waste, and make sure that things aren't getting thrown away, and again, that's all money, and that it's cooking correctly, and all of that. I think that's pretty much it. And then, or I'm sorry, not cooking, I guess. That one, oops, preparation will be more cooking method, using it, cooking correctly, and use of standardized recipes. And that's kind of that homework I gave you a couple of our last week, where the marinara and the tartar sauce, um, recipe. So where you could understand what a standardized recipe is, and how much information is on a standardized recipe. And then it also helps you with portion control. And there's a system for portion control. That's the scoops, you name it. All of these things are kind of the cycle. So that's preparation, and making sure everything's cooked safely. And then the timing, for the food and beverage orders, like making sure that the food gets to the customers out on time. We don't want to, if my wait staff is really, uh, excuse me, really slow, and then my food is dying in the window, and my steak is overcooking over the heat lamp. Those are things that you want to make sure you serve properly, because if not, we're wasting money. Making sure that the server, if the server has to portion out something or put out something like, um, bread, or whatever else, they portion it properly. They don't over give, or give the customers too much. So controlling portions as well, if they are portioning out anything. And usually I try to avoid getting my wait staff to portion out any sort of food product, uh, because the wait staff really doesn't understand the reason why we portion out things as often, and all of that. And again, I don't it, I don't trust any. I would much rather trust my staff, or the kitchen staff, um, with that. So I usually don't allow too much of the servers to portion out stuff, just because of, again, control. It's all about control. And in this, what we're talking about today and yesterday, it's 100% control. You're trying to control costs. You're trying to control, the waste. You're controlling everything. So like I said on day one, all chefs are control freaks. We want control of everything. I mean, even a small example is that butter, salted butter. We don't want salted butter. We want to control the salt on anything. So it's all about control. Service, again, making sure that, again, that there are, um, procedures to make sure that the service is done correctly, that the alcohol beverages are made correctly, and served responsibly. I mean, that's a big deal too, that you serve the alcohol responsibly. I mean, to yesterday I taught the same class to Chef Scott's class. I think it was 11 o'clock. His 11 o'clock class, and um, we were, someone was bringing up, the TABC, Texas Alcohol and Tobacco kind of a certification for serving alcohol, and how that is a system in a thing that you have to be to serve alcohol. You have to have the TABC certification, and you've got to make sure you serve it responsibly. And there are some, that is a system in itself, and that's a system that's not that my employees have to have, but it's not regulated by me. It's regulated by the state, right? So, and they've got to have their own certification. They do that on their own. Now, granted, I might pay my employees to go, pay them to take the test, or pay for the test or whatever else. But it's a state-run system, but it is a system that has to be managed, and I've got to make sure that my employees follow that, because it could affect my employee, but it also could affect me or you or whoever the manager or whoever the owner of that restaurant is. You could get fined and all of that. So making sure you sell alcohol responsibly, very, very important. Who popped in? Who just came in?
That was me.
Oh, okay, true. Okay, true. All right, cool. Um, let's see. So that's that. Just making sure that everything's sanitized and clean outside. On the tables, guys. That's a big deal now. Making sure that everything is cleaned and sanitized, especially with COVID going on, right? That's a a new system on itself of how to clean tables, or how to clean your dining room after service. There was I know the school has a kind of a fogger kind of a thing of looks like a, I don't know, a steamer. In a way it looks like a steam gun, but they basically go and fog or steam up with the with sanitizer, I guess, all in the labs after each use of a lab, making sure that there is no contamination. So that is a new system that and a new program, or a new thing that you have to have in place now, to assure your employees and um, your paying customers that your facility is safe. So making sure that you have those systems in place, and you keep it. And let's see. Um, Sanitation, food and beverage service. Okay, I think I kind of talked about that. Standard portioning cost. Do you mind reading this real quick?
Standard portion cost. Standard portion cost is defined as the dollar amount that a standard portion should cost, given the standards and standard procedures for its production. The standard portion cost for a given menu item can be viewed as a budget for the production of one portion of that item. There are several reasons for determining standard portion costs. The most obvious is that one should have a reasonable, clear idea of the cost of a menu item before establishing a menu sales price for that item.
All right, thank you. So what they're saying is we need to figure out how much one item costs, right? We need to figure out how much that burger cost me to make, right? Just one burger. how much that one burger costs me to make. So where then I can figure out, okay, if it costs me $5 to make, what can my clientele? Because remember, we talked about who your target market is, right? And in when you and the reason why we've tried to figure out who our target market is to figure out how much we can price things, how high we can price things, right? Because if my target market people, if I, and this is kind of like you always look at salary or how much money people make, right? So my target market individual, let's say, is going to make $100,000 a year. So that's my target market people, right? So then that tells me that if my burger costs me $5 to make a burger, and that's a very expensive burger to make, but if it costs me $5 to make that burger for one burger, then what I in my group that I'm selling to uh, can is the basically $100,000 a year. I could probably sell that burger for maybe 10, $15 and not be worried about it because I mean again I don't know. I mean but I'm kind of stereotyping right now, right? Um, but no matter what, that helps me determine how much I could charge and how much what I call the ceiling, how high I can go until um, until my customers can't afford it or whatever else. But you just need to figure out how much one item costs, so where you can figure out how much what kind of pricing you need. Because again, if I didn't cost out that burger and I did, excuse me, and I did not know it cost me $5 to make a burger. Well, let's say I made that burger so where I am now selling the burger. I didn't cost it out, but I'm selling it for $4.50. So every time I sell a burger, I'm losing 50 cents. So, it is so important to know how much those things cost you in a what and if you're selling the burger with French fries, if it's kind of like what you call a meal deal, kind of like like McDonald's or whatever else. If you're selling a burger with French fries, you need to get the cost of the burger, get the cost of the French fries, and add those together, and then decide, okay, well, now with the French fries and the burger, that's going to cost $6.50. So I'm going to have to charge, more for that or whatever else. So you just need to know the exact cost of everything before you can determine what it is and the price. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday, and I think I even brought it up, maybe week 1 or week 2, as purchased and EP or AP and EP. AP is as purchased. That's in its raw state, like a carrot, a carrot that's not been peeled, or a piece of meat, or ground beef. That's as purchased. It's ground beef. Now edible portion is either things cut, trimmed, peeled, fabricated in some way, done in and uh, cut or cooked. So like, is it a quarter pound of raw meat, or is it a quarter pounder burger? Is it raw meat or is it cooked meat, right? So is it a quarter pounder cooked or is it quarter pound uncooked? So you need to make sure whatever it is, it's AP or EP. Now, if it's EP, edible portion, sometimes you can buy stuff already perfectly trimmed up, everything, right? So you're not going to have to trim up anything. You don't lose. Hold on. You don't lose. Um, you don't lose any. And I lost my train of thought. Sorry, as one of my a student just texted me. I apologize. Um, let's see. As per, okay, so we kind of talked about that EP, AP, and then when you trim, like let's say you peel that carrot or peel those potato, and you're trying to figure out what the loss is. That's called the percent yield. Okay, so whatever you have, you need to figure out how much weight you lost, then you kind of add it into the cost of the edible portion. But that is called the percent yield. And that's why, and figuring out how much loss you get. And that's kind of what I was showing you on this book, the yield book. And this helps you kind of determine what the yields are and what kind of loss you're going to be doing, and this is done on the average. So any questions of what we and that was kind of a review of what we kind of talked about yesterday. Questions, problems, concerns, are we good? Everybody good on that? All right, let's see. All right, do you mind reading this? Give me a second.
Start purchasing. Once the work to build your restaurant has begun, start strategizing your opening purchases from the front and back of the house. These purchases are the whole slew of items that are smaller than a walk-in refrigerator or bar stool, but are just as critical in terms of functionality: plates, glasses, uniforms, pots, and pans.
Thank you. So you need to get, you're going to need to purchase a lot of stuff, right? So, pots, pans, uniforms, you name it, anything that's in a kitchen. I mean, here, look at this, right? Where's my, oops. So here you go. They had to buy this pot right here, this little pot right there. They had to buy this. They had to buy this tagine up here. They had to buy these scoops. They had to buy these wine glasses. They had to buy this oven. They had to buy, put this wood in here. They had to do a lot of things, right? So, I mean, there are a lot of things that have to be purchased when you get into your kitchen, right, or into your business. And you need to make sure it goes with the concept, right? And that your design are what you're putting in there, what you're doing, the concept, it goes along with it, and all of that. So there's so many things that you have to purchase. Let's see. Do you mind reading this real quick?
The exact items you need to select and purchase
Hold on. You're
depend on the restaurant concept, where you have already with design, architect, and construction.
all right. You're breaking up, or it might be me. I don't.
Let me try it, Chef. See if maybe we can figure out the connection. So I'll try to read it.
Oh no. Okay. Thanks.
The exact items
Hold
you
on.
need to, oh,
Oh, there you go.
okay, here we go. The exact items you need to select and purchase at this point depend on your restaurant concept. Well, you have already chosen with your designer, architect, and contractor, and your budget.
Thank you. So, you've got to make sure that, you stay in your budget, you stay, I mean, the one thing that I want to say about this slide is that no matter what, when you're designing it, you got to think about your concept, and if it doesn't flow with your concept, man, don't do it. If the color doesn't match your concept or whatever else, please, when I go into some restaurants, I go in and the decor doesn't match up very well with the food, or it's just kind of I feel like that this restaurant doesn't know what it wants to be. It's kind of, I mean, does it want to be a Americana place, or does it want to be more of an Italian place, or whatever else? It's kind of, it doesn't know who it wants to be or what it wants to be. So a lot of times, you've got to make sure that everything flows really well. And I understand some people feel like they're designers and they can design awesome things, or they can think about all of that. Honestly, I would really, I mean, is as much as you would, not want to spend the money, maybe having someone at least show you, at least get a designer in and kind of help you, because you go to people's houses, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? Everything, I mean, what you think is beautiful and what I think is beautiful might be completely different. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to make this atmosphere pleasing to everybody, right? And sometimes if you cannot step back away from what you like, you've got to always stop thinking about what you like and what is best for the unit or what's good for your concept, and not what you like as much. So sometimes you have to take away that your gut reaction of, oh yeah, I like this. Well, no one cares what you like. It's about what's good for the concept, and that's the most important thing. Like plateware, glassware, flatware, serving utensils, tea, pots, trays, bar smallware, tableware, salt and pepper shakers, salt and pepper or pepper grinders, linens, uniform, menu covers, the paper, the cocktail napkins, the check presenters, all of those things. Those are all things that you would need to buy, right? And you want to make sure that 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 I mean, just think of those little things. Just like that right there. I mean, look at all those, right? You need pots, you need pans, you need, in all the things you buy, right? Is money just sitting there on the shelves, right? So, and you got to determine, are you going to buy quality over like, a quality product? Or are you going to buy a little cheaper product? Or are you going to buy the cheapest product? Are you going to buy this really expensive stainless steel? Or are you going to buy the cheaper aluminum pans? All of those things. I mean, this is just front of the house right here. And there's so much more. I mean, chairs, tables, rugs, soap dispensers, anything like that, hand sanitizers, you name it, any of that is things you're going to have to purchase. This is why trying to make sure you stay in your budget. I mean, because I mean, has anybody bought pots and pans recently or seen cost of pots and pans? I mean, if you go, I mean, I would never. I mean, I if you buy, if you ever want to buy pots and pans, Goodwill, TJ Maxx, Home Goods, Ross, that sort of stuff. I would go get pots and pans, for home, something like that. But but commercial pots and pans, I mean, that they're expensive. I mean, you've got, and they've got to be commercial. They can't be like a home style. Depending on, because commercial, it's built more for abuse, I would say, and all of that. So you need to purchase small wares. I mean, y'all have been hybrid, right? So you've seen all the small wares you need, especially y'all are baking and pastry, right? So I mean, just think of all the random little thing. I mean, that Chef Tammy or Chef Pavla or Chef Jackie or any of those, pastry chefs, I mean, I know like Chef Tammy has, boxes of just stuff, piping tips and piping this and all hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stuff, right? I mean, just sitting around and just know that all those little things, those are some things that you're going to have to purchase. And just think about, the loss, how much loss you're going to have to do. What? But the loss, if someone loses it. I mean, think of how many tips, like piping tips, might go into the food, the grind, or the in the sink and get thrown away accidentally, all of that, and you have to replace it and replace all of these things after being used. I mean, how many pieces of equipment, I mean, after a while our equipment breaks because it's just so much use, so much beating up with the equipment. So those things are also things you need to buy and need to figure out how much you're going to need. Do you need all of these? Does your staff need all of these kinds of strainers or whatever, spoodles or spoons or all of that? So what do they need? And do they need it all, or do they need whatever else? Also, now this I don't do as much. I do have, I usually have some knives in the kitchen that are communal knives, usually for like wait staff or cutting bread. I usually have bread knives for us to cut bread, but most of the time I usually let the individuals bring their own knives. That's kind of usually what happens. But there might be occasion where I might have, I usually have what I call house knives. Like, for example, if someone I don't know, lost one or needs one or forgot one, or a wait staff needs to cut some like when they're prepping for their day, they need to cut I don't know, lemons or limes or whatever else. I usually have some house knives, but I always have a sharpening stone at the work, making sure that you know, everybody has sharp knives is very important because clean cuts, clean, you know, everything you want, but you know, knives, you know, is something that I you don't see as much that facilities providing for you, but it is something that you have at least a few knives out, just house knives. Also, you need to purchase cutting boards. I mean, for sure. I mean, you need cutting boards. And what kind of cutting boards are you going to do? The color coded, and if you are, you're going to need quite a few sets of them, right? Because you know, depending on how many stations you have, you know, and making sure that you know, I mean, they are plastic usually, and I have some, you know, Yahoo employee that decides to put a hot pot right on top of a plastic cutting board. Well, that's going to melt it, or you know, you get, especially like in the when I'm cutting chicken or beef, especially chicken, if I'm cutting it up, chicken cutting into pieces, I might have a kind of a hatchet or something like that, and I might be cutting the chicken into pieces. I could be getting big score marks on the cutting board, and that be cutting boards for sure. You need to replace quite. I would replace them as off, you know, as every time they get carved up. The health department used to allow you to sand them down, set like use a kind of a grater or a sander in a way where you could go get a plastic cutting board, and it was kind of like a planer, or kind of like a wood kind of a wood planer. I don't know, but it basically kind of scrapes the top layer of that plastic off, and you kind of scrape it off, and it kind of gives it a new life in a way, that cutting board a new life. Well, that depending on the health department, I know Travis County stopped doing that, allowing you to kind of sand down a rough one, like for the plastic. This is only for plastic. For wood, completely different. You can sand it down and you can retreat it and all of that. But for the plastic, they used to allow you to scrape it down and then kind of reuse it. But I think now they require you've got to throw it away and start over with a new one, instead of kind of sanding it down and reusing that, because of the bacteria. If even there was a big score mark or a big kind of a burn mark, and bacteria could live in there, and that could be a problem. But just making sure you deal with cutting boards. I mean, they get moldy, they get nasty if they're stuck together, if they're not cleaned properly, if you don't soak them and get all the grease out, any of that sort of stuff, it gets pretty nasty. I mean, look at all these bowls. I mean, how many bowls do y'all go use in pastry class? I mean, you have bowls for this, bowls for that. You need to melt chocolate. You need to, you know, whip up egg whites. You need to do many things, right? So you need multiple size bowls, multiple pots and pans. Now, guys, do you see these pans right here with lids? That is a kind of a fake kind of a thing. I mean, that's are the lids. Have at the school, have y'all seen any pot with a lid? No. Other than if you were in the canning section yet, I know Chef Taney has a big canning pot to put a lid on when you're canning like jelly or whatever else, but there's no lids. Guys, in commercial equipment, commercial grade pots and pans, the lids come separately. You have to pay for the lid. So usually all we buy the pots, right? We buy the we don't have lids because of the lids come separately. So you have to buy it. And then plus, just think of all the different size lids that we would have to have on hand and different types of pots and pans that we have. It's very difficult to keep those lids. So a lot of times we don't buy the lids, and that's why we use aluminum foil. That's why we use all sorts of paper lids or parchment paper, or we use aluminum foil and plastic wrap or whatever. We very rarely have lids on pots, but if you buy them, that and that's kind of the issue is you don't have a lot of space to put them in as well either. So you very rarely see lids in a kitchen, and that's one of the reasons why. But I mean, these are all things you have to have before you actually start cooking. All right, let's take a 10-minute break. Let's come back at 8:10.
Hard.
Cool. Thank you. All righty, it is that time. Let me get back to where I was. Oh, shoot. Just closed the PowerPoint. Hold on, I gotta get back to PowerPoint. 16. All right, so again, and we're just, buying whisk, ladles, any of those things. Those are tools that you need to buy or have on hand. I mean, these are all, these are spoodles.
Chef, you're not screen sharing.
Oh, no, thank you. All right, so these are spoodles right here. Scoops that, are in the different colors. They determine the different sizing of your scoops, and that's all portion control right there. Again, this is these ladles are all portion control, whisks, spoons, turners, flippers for grills, for fish spatulas, tongs. Just think of all the items that are in a kitchen or that you need to produce your items. Now, the one thing I would say is you need to know what your menu is and what you need to have your menu set before you go and buy any of this. Because what if you don't need um, certain things? You might not need certain things because your menu doesn't require it. So just making sure that you have what you need, and that is so important. Storing equipment, you're going to need to get shelves, carts, sheet pans, racks, and just think of how many sheet pans we go through in the school, or you go through. You've got things that are, sitting and just storage on sheet pans. And then you've got your cooking with sheet pans. Sheet pans get very expensive, especially if it's aluminum or stainless steel or whatever else. Drying racks, things to hold any of your food storage containers in. Let's see, janitorial equipment. You need to make sure you have cleaning rags. You need to set up a system for, like, we use Admiral Linen, is our linen company, Admiral Linen, and you might need to set up a linen company, so where they can drop your tablecloths or your towels, side towels. Sometimes linen companies will, our places will launder jackets. I prefer to, as an employee or an employer, I would prefer to do your own, like I would like to do your jackets, because that assures me that they get clean all the time. Like for wait staff, I always want to make sure that if they do their laundry and all of that, I let them usually do their pants, but like their shirts or whatever else, I usually get them laundered because I want them nicely finely pressed and looking the part, depending on what it is. But making sure you have aprons or whatever else for your cleaning crew as well. Mop buckets, wet floor signs, brooms, dustpans, chemicals, all the chemicals you need, and then you need to make sure that they have basically the chemical sheet, MSDS sheet with that, because the chemical MSDS sheet is so important. You can't just buy some random chemical and not have a that documentation with that. That's so important because someone gets sick or whatever else from the sanitizer or from whatever else. We need to know what needs to happen and what we need to do to fix it. But those things. So starting, I mean, it is a lot of stuff, man. It is a lot of things, and it is a huge upfront cost. You are dropping hundreds of thousands of dollars. My recommendation is, maybe the small wares you can buy new, but all your if you're on a budget, maybe buy secondhand, like for, stoves or whatever else, or so where you're not having to uh, have that upfront expense, and then you can, as you get more and make more money, you can go in and buy a newer piece of equipment. You don't want to get equipment poor in a way of where and guys, has anybody ever been to A Smart or a restaurant supply place? Anybody ever been to like a you know or even like for me, like a hardware store, or like something where you just want to just buy everything, right? Like a restaurant supply store is an awesome place. I always want to get this. I want to get this. This looks cool. I want that. And the issue is you get kind of you get all excited and all of this, you want to buy all this stuff. And the realistic thing is you need to make sure that you need it. Do you need it? And do you need it right now? Can this one piece of equipment do 5 or 6 different jobs? That's why it's called a combi oven, a combination steamer and oven. Those are a lot of people like those because of just the diversity of it all. I don't have to have a steamer. I don't have to have a proofer. I can use all of that at the same time. It's all one thing, and it helps save money. But do you mind reading this little slide for me?
Okay. Key considerations. The 5 most important factors to weigh when making purchasing decisions are cost, durability, brand consistency, lead time, replace.
Thank you. Okay, cost, right? How much is it going to cost, right? That's a huge thing. Durability. Is it going to last a week? Is it going to last a year? Is it going to last? How durable is it? Because in the restaurant industry, things get beat up, beat down, broken around, and you want something that's durable. Brand, it depends on, again, Viking brand or KitchenAid versus non-KitchenAid. You need to, depending on the branding. Lead time. How long does it take to get, for example, if you wanted to, I don't know, get like a pizza oven and it's specially made in Italy, right? So where you might need a lead time of a year to get it made, or a half a year, especially now, or right around when COVID really first hit. Do y'all remember, like, they were shutting down all the borders, right? And all the borders and all the stuff that were coming in from other countries and all of that. And they were, so lots of things got backlogged, right? So making sure that, you have enough lead time to get that product. And replacement. There was, I don't know why Le Cordon Bleu at the time when they did it, but when I was working there, they had an oven that was called a Blodgett oven. It's a kind of a name brand, but it's expensive, but it's made not in the United States, or made somewhere else, and all the parts have to be shipped from Italy or whatever else, and brought in. Well, the replacement parts, it took forever. It was backlog, and we had just had a really expensive oven that wasn't being used because of the parts had to be specially ordered, and just all these things. So making sure that it's easy to get replacements, it's easy to get repair. Some of these things that you buy, ovens or stoves, you want to, if you buy it, and you want to make sure that there is a repair person that is capable of repairing that product. Because, for example, like, I don't know, certain cars, like I don't know, Lexus or what's the one that drives itself. He just moved here. Elon Musk, what's it? Tesla. Thank you. The Tesla, like a Tesla, you need to have a special person or a special place to get it done. It's got to be in the to get any work done. It's got to be a special Tesla place. Well, same time for like some of these ovens and stoves or whatever else. Sometimes you need a special place to get it fixed, and maybe it's not in the Austin area. Maybe the person lives or the person has coming from Houston and gonna be doing it. So maybe it might not be the smartest thing to buy an oven that that the only person that can repair it is in Houston, and so you've got to look at it in those kinds of ways as well. Let's see. Do not buy everything at the same time. Yeah, that's the biggest deal. I mean, it's like, you get all excited. It's get that, ooh, we got money, we're gonna buy all this stuff. And unfortunately, you shouldn't buy everything at once. Slowly buy it, and because again, you need to budget yourself and manage that. Start purchasing. Weigh all the facts when you choosing what you want. Let's see. Obviously, pricing. The price is important, as well as how long. Money is a big factor when you're doing this, and you need to make sure. I mean, again, some companies and some businesses look for the future, and some people look at and just for now, and you've got to kind of look at it and say, okay, what can I afford right now, and that's what you can get. But other than that, you don't want to get more than you can, because again, it's a big issue. Excuse me. Safe, approved food sources. Could you read this slide real quick for me?
Safe and approved food source. The first line of defense is preventing foodborne illness is to obtain food from safe and approved sources. ServSafe call these approved, reputable suppliers. Safe and approved sources are suppliers that comply with pertinent laws and regulations.
All right. So you want to make sure that they are basically approved sources, and that's pretty much all I needed to talk about that. Let's see, storing equipment, or storing, let's see, receipt packages, damages, and we kind of talked about this yesterday. This is a little bit of repeating, but making sure there's no damaged or spoiled, or spoiled or soiled products as well. You don't want a bag of flour that's got a bunch of nastiness or soiled, I don't know, looks like mud, or it could be mud, or it could be whatever. You don't want that as well either. You need to make sure that you check, and that's kind of what these two individuals in this picture are doing. They're checking and making sure that, I mean, see those cans right beside them? Maybe one of those cases fell off and the can is dented. I mean, and that could easily, the seal of that can could be compromised. So then, whatever's in that can could be potentially contaminated or spoiled. And you just have to be very careful with that. You got to make sure that refrigerator items should be below 41 degrees, and frozen items should be 0 or below. So, and you've got to make sure of that. Storing. And again, make sure you label everything. The health department does not care what you say when what they want is it written on a label, so that everybody knows what it is. And you preferably you want to label it, put the label on the packaging or on the container, because if this had plastic wrap on it, and we had a label on the plastic wrap, once that label or once that plastic wrap is removed, then it could some people might not know when those peppers came in or whatever else, or when that product came in. So make sure you label it and use by date, all of that. Put whatever your businesses or your jobs requirements are on the labels. Make sure you just label it the way it needs to be labeled. Storing, obviously, first in, first out. What the oldest, you push out the oldest first, right? I used to buy little stickers that say "Use me first," and it was kind of a very neon pink, or something very loud color sticker. And I would always put it on cream or heavy cream or half and half or milk, just to make sure that people use that first. Because if not, dairy is expensive, and you throw away a bunch of cream or a bunch of buttermilk or a bunch of whatever, that's lots of money going down the garbage. So we're gonna talk, I'm gonna show this video of
YouTube ads beat Facebook ads every time. Let's face it, Facebook ad costs are going through the roof.
A restaurant's menu is a very powerful brand statement. In fact, you are what you serve when it comes to a restaurant menu. The question might be, how do you plan a restaurant menu? One thing that's very important to keep in mind is that your restaurant menu will have a very powerful impact on many parts of your restaurant business. It will determine how many people you need in the kitchen to produce the food. It will determine many of your price points. It will determine how your business performs from the point of view of check average. How much is each person going to spend when they eat at your restaurant? And you have a lot of decisions to make when you plan your restaurant menu to make sure that it delivers what you want it to in terms of your idea, in terms of how you want the restaurant to feel for the guests and for your staff. One of the first questions you're going to ask yourself is, how does a restaurant menu embody my idea for my restaurant? If you want to have a Southwestern cuisine restaurant, well, pretty obviously you need to have a menu that delivers that kind of food. You also want to know how many items you're going to offer your guests. Will you expect them to order a la carte, individual items from the menu, or will you expect them to order what's called prix fixe, or a fixed price menu, where they spend one price for multiple courses? All of this depends on the style of your restaurant, the level of service, the level of price that you're expecting your guests to pay. When you're working on your menu, it's important to start asking yourself, what is the guest going to think when they see this menu? They may see your menu online. They may see your menu for the first time when they sit down in your restaurant. What are they going to feel? What are they going to think? Are they going to say, ooh, I want that? Or are they going to be overwhelmed by too many choices? Does the menu make them feel comfortable? Does it make them feel excited? Does it make them feel bored? Does it make them feel overwhelmed? How does the guest feel about the menu and the items on it? Also, what does the menu say about your concept of food? Do you provide seasonal ingredients? Or are you the kind of restaurant that's serving asparagus in December? Do you serve local produce? Or do you serve everything under the sun? It's very important to think like a guest when you're planning a menu. What are the choices I want to make? What are the choices I want to have? And how are they going to affect my enjoyment of my meal? Another important thing to know about planning a menu is that a menu should not be something that's engraved in stone and never changes. You need to change your menu, and you need to create a menu that you expect to change. There will be dishes that will be more seasonally appropriate. You're not going to sell a lot of beef stew in August in New York City. You need to think about, what do people want to eat at different times of year? What is appealing to people at different times of year? Now, if you're really lucky, you'll have a dish that people love so much they come back for it. What you would call a signature dish. A dish that people say, oh, I've got to go to that restaurant because I have to have that. Well, people become very attached to those dishes. So there's an interesting balance to find. You have to add new things to keep the excitement for your regular guests, but you have to hold on to those signature dishes that people keep coming back for again and again. Change your menu seasonally. Think about signature items that people will associate with your business, and keep it fresh. Add new things to keep people interested in your menu.
All right. Restaurant menus. Do you mind reading this?
Customers can now walk in the restaurant and start requesting to be taken over each meal available to place an order. They ask for a menu. A restaurant menu design is a list of meals and beverages a restaurant offers. Menu saves customers time since they can see all the meals they want on the list. Creating a restaurant menu list is among the first items that should be prioritized.
Thank you. So just making sure that you have a menu in place, because honestly, if you don't have a menu in place, or an idea of what you're going to be cooking, you don't know what kind of equipment you need to buy. You don't need, you need all of that in place. So the customer can really understand what they're going to be getting as well. And you want a wide range of kind of a menu items, so where people can have a little bit of different choices. Do you mind reading this slide, this other slide?
Before you write the restaurant start menu, make sure there is a good connection between the restaurant kitchen and the list. The kitchen size directly influences the style of the cuisine. A small kitchen implies the restaurant cannot offer a wide range of meals. The restaurant menu list should be legible. The fonts and language used should be make it visible, readable, and comprehensible. You will receive customers of different calibers. Some are short-sighted and others are long-sighted. If they are having problems reading the menu, they will walk away.
Okay, so that's, you know, if someone doesn't like your menu, they are going to walk away. Make sure you have it's it's easy to read, and we've kind of talked about that. You want to have a good script. You want it to be legible, all of that. So this is kind of a repeat. We've already kind of talked about that. The right price. You need to figure out what the right price is, and realistically, you know, it comes down to who your clientele is, how much they can afford, and how much and what the perceived value of that product is. If they feel like they got a perceived value for it or a value for that service, then it's the right price. But sometimes, and I can only imagine all of us at one point or another, we've gotten food, we've gotten a service or whatever else, and we thought it was too expensive for the perceived value or whatever the value we felt like it was. So making sure that everybody has that feel like it is that value, you know, when they're doing that. Designing a menu, you want to make sure that, you know, everything's written and it's visible for, or written, you know, in a way where people can see it. Again, you want a good description. You want to, you know, make sure that it's written very well. And we've already kind of gone over these kinds of things or this stuff before. Let's see, creating a menu. Do you mind reading this one?
Create your menu. As a new restaurant, one of the toughest things is creating and changing your menu. The menu is what brings customers in and pays the bills, and it is crucial to balance room for trial and error with the perfect array of dishes. If you are creating a menu or about to change your existing one and need some help getting it right, consider the following tips.
I start with, oh, go ahead. What's the first tip?
Start with your concept and demographics.
Thank you.
The
And
first and
you don't need to read the rest of it. You know, the most thing is, you know, start with your demographics, and that's what I've been saying. You need to know what your demographics want. Again, like that in the video said, you know, beef stew in New York in the summertime, you know, or whatever else. You know, maybe not the best thing, but making sure whoever your whatever your who's your clientele, your demographics. Are they people? Are they people that don't eat pork? Are they people that you know, make 100,000 or more, 200,000 or more? Are they the 1%ers or whatever else? You know, what do they like? What do those individuals shop for? All of that. So knowing all of that can help you design your menu. What's the next one?
stick to a theme.
Stick to the theme, man. You know, if it's a bistro, if it's a Italian restaurant, don't try to um, be everything. You can't be everything. You got to stick with the theme and make sure that the theme flows along with everything. Your menu, your decor, you know, your uniform, you know, your employees' uniforms, all of that. Making sure that it all flows together. What's the next one?
Use specials to test menu items.
Thank you. And that is something I always do, no matter what. You can use specials to test it out. See what kind of excitement you get. See if people want to buy it. People if want to try it, and then you see if you have a little demand for it. And if there is a demand, then you can you know, put it on your menu. But I always use specials as a tester to test the waters, because I don't want to just put it on there and think, oh, okay, if I make it, they will buy it type of deal. No, I'm going to try it first, try it out before I put it on my menu. Because again, once I put it on my menu, I've spent money to throw, you know, I printed all new menus. So that's a lot of money. What's the next one?
The menu is the foundation of your standardized production.
Thank you. So my menu is part of my standardized production, because that 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 is, you got to make sure that everything matches up, correct? And everything goes with the menu, that you have that product for that menu. And that's why the standardized recipe is so important, because you need that to make sure all the standards are in place. And you can the first start working on your menu project. So will you read this for me?
The first draft of your menu isn't going to be perfect. Some items will sell better than you expected, some worse. Some dishes won't fit the concept of your restaurant, or you might notice things you could start adding menu items with the equipment and ingredients you already have. Once you open your restaurant and see your menu in action, you'll start to get a better idea of what works and what doesn't about your menu.
Thank you. So, that's right. If it's not going to sell, if you're not selling, then, that tells you what's going to work and what doesn't. What kind of restaurant have you chosen? What is your restaurant name? Actually, do you mind reading these points?
Sure. What kind of restaurant have you chosen? What is your restaurant's name? What are the important characteristics of a menu for the restaurant you have chosen? What details make sense for food items? Does the menu go beyond simply naming the food item? What kind of names are used? What typeface best fits the menu? How large should it be? What colors belong on the menu? How do the colors relate to the other elements of the menu? What kind of images would best represent the restaurant and why?
Thank you. And these are all questions you're going to have to ask yourself when you're coming up with your menu, okay? And designing the menu for yourself. So now I have changed this, because this was more for culinary, all right? More for not pastry. This is more culinary project. So I changed it for y'all, so where it was going to be 9 to 10 items, whatever it is, 9 or 10 items that you're going to be needing to get for your menu. And you've already kind of started this. You've already, and I've kind of given you that project already, that you're going to be creating your standardized recipes. So that is what you're going to be doing for your 9 to 10 items that you created. You had a list of 20 items that you listed that you would want to sell in your restaurant. Now I'm asking you to narrow it down to 9 to 10 items and create a standardized recipe for each 9 or 10 items that you're going to put on your menu. Okay, that is what I need by Monday. Did I say that I was at Monday? Was that the due date? Or did I tell you?
I thought you had said Friday.
Okay. What's today? Today's Tuesday. I mean, yeah, I would like it within before Monday. I would like it before Monday, so I can look at them all, and so where I can address, if we need to address any issues on Monday, because on Monday I'm gonna do some lecture, and then then hopefully y'all will have shared those with me, and I'm gonna go individually through each person and pull up, and we're gonna look at kind of individually during class. I'm going to look at your standardized recipes, so where then you can then start. Then I'm going to start showing you how to cost it out after that. So then you know everybody's kind of in the same boat or the same area where we are. So where no one's gonna not get it done. But that is kind of what I want. You do not need appetizers, main course, desserts. This was how these are my requirements that I would do for like my the culinary side, non-pastry. For pastry, you can do a you know a bakery or whatever else, something that has different things. But this is kind of what I'm going to need you to do is just create that standardized recipe. Any questions? And here is the standardized recipe form right here. Okay, so this is what I want, and I want it all those 9 or 10 recipes on one spreadsheet or on one document. Yes, what's up?
Yes, chef. What if one of my dishes is a work in progress? Because I know I'm doing the culinary and not the pastry.
Uh-huh.
And so I've come up with some of them, but one of them I'm still working on it.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, as long as it's done, you know, by the end of our class. I mean, for your final project, as long as it's done on that, I'm good. Does that answer?
Chef,
Yes, chef.
Yes.
so, okay, if I'm hearing you correctly, you want us to have 9 or 10 recipes on our menu, narrow it down, and then you also want it to be standardized before Monday? To do a standardized recipe of each one?
Standard, yes. Of the recipe of the 9 or 10 items that you have narrowed down. That is correct.
Okay.
And then all next week we'll be costing out recipes. So that's what next week is week, what, 5? Is that right?
Yes, chef.
All right, so yeah, all next week we'll be costing out and then creating a menu, designing, you know, and going to must-have menus and designing a menu. So, but if you want to get ahead and do stuff, that's totally fine. But that's kind of how I'm kind of breaking it into smaller chunks for you all.
Okay, thank you, chef.
Well, yeah, of course. Any other questions? Are we good? Rock and roll. Thank you, guys. I will see y'all tomorrow.
You too, chef. Stay safe. Take
Be
care.
safe. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Chef.
Have a great day.
Thank you. You as well. Thank you.